In the grim darkness of the far future, there is only war. Billions of souls struggle for the survival of humanity. Yet even in the face of immeasurable threats, the Imperium remains a fortress, guarded by indomitable warriors. Let us delve together into a world where the greatest armies of humanity fight for the glory and salvation of the Imperium. We shall examine each defender, from the incomparable genetically modified Astartes, carrying the Emperor's wrath with superhuman hands, to the iron legions of Adeptus Mechanicus, who worship the Omnissiah. We will marvel at the devotion of the Adepta Sororitas, whose faith burns brighter than the flames of Prometheus, and feel the tremors of the earth as the colossal engines of Collegia Titanica stride onto the battlefield. We will speak of the warriors in golden armor, the Custodes, steadfast guardians of terror and the Emperor himself, and analyze the relentless courage of the Astra Militarum, the ordinary men and women ready to lay down their lives for humanity. Special mention will go to the secretive warriors of the Grey Knights, hidden in the shadows to strike at demonic evil. These armies are not just fighters, but symbols of strength, devotion, and willpower that keep the Imperium afloat in an ocean of chaos. Join us to learn more about the grandeur and self-sacrifice of those who bear humanity's banner in an age of endless war. There is no battlefield where the Space Marines could not triumph, no enemy they could not vanquish, nor is there a danger before which their ranks might waver. They are the elite strike forces of the Imperium, and their rapid campaigns are conducted with such brutality that they have come to be known as the Angels of Death. Each Space Marine is a living weapon of incredible power, forged from the genetic material of their Primarch, subjected to psycho-indoctrination for loyalty and fearlessness, and trained in all aspects of the Holy Codex Astartes, making them each a lethal instrument of combat mastery. The Adeptus Astartes also possess the finest equipment the Imperium can provide. A variety of bolters is the most common type of armament in a Space Marine's arsenal, from bolt pistols and rifles to the massive heavy bolters. These weapons fire small rockets, martial machine spirits that understand when a projectile hits the target, detonating with immense force. No less powerful is the Space Marine's power armor, incredibly durable, equipped with servomotors to augment already impressive physical capabilities, powered by a pack-integrated generator. Various types of power armor provide their wearer with advanced auto-senses and personal protection systems comparable to a light tank. Moreover, advanced armor modifications such as Mark X or the ancient Terminator armor allow battle brothers to assume highly specialized roles on the battlefield and wield extraordinary weaponry. These are but a few examples from the vast array of specialized and masterfully crafted weapons and armor at the disposal of the Adeptus Astartes. From roaring chainswords to deadly plasma incinerators, all these instruments of war are wielded in the name of the Emperor. Each company of Space Marines likewise maintains a vast arsenal of diverse types and tools of war: battle tanks, armored personnel carriers, light reconnaissance vehicles, aerial interceptors, transport landing craft, mobile artillery, and combat walkers. All are manufactured and outfitted to the highest standards, and many are ancient and deeply revered instruments of war. Most Space Marine chapters can boast a battle fleet of heavily armored starships capable of deploying their companies across the galaxy. These ships break through orbital blockades and employ rapid deployment methods such as drop pods and teleportation arrays to deliver their warriors directly into the heart of battle. Speed, precision, and overwhelming force underscore the methods of warfare practiced by the Space Marines. And though their numbers are few, they are ideally suited for high-risk, high-stakes missions that have the power to alter the course of entire wars. An Adeptus Astartes strike team can eliminate enemy command or disable orbital defenses ahead of a major offensive. break through enemy lines with an unstoppable armoured assault, or initiate a series of precise guerrilla operations to demoralize the enemy and disrupt their logistical support. Sometimes Space Marines go to war alongside large formations of the Imperial military forces, spearheading the attack of battle groups and then moving on to the next combat zone, leaving less experienced adepts to secure the area. The Adeptus Astartes undertake missions no other fighting force would dare. They can advance deep into space hulks to cleanse these halls of foul Xenos. They can fight both in open space and on worlds too polluted or infested for an ordinary, non-augmented human to survive. They can withstand horrors that would break the sanity of less resilient warriors, operate for months behind enemy lines undetected, and endure weeks without resupply or reinforcement from allied overwhelming forces. There exist hundreds of different Space Marine chapters, each with a proud history and illustrious warrior traditions. Yet they all trace their genetic lineage back to the chapters of the first founding, which were formed from the core of each loyal Space Marine legion that took part in the many wars during the Horus Heresy. The chapters of the first founding preserve the teachings of their primarchs and strive to emulate them in appearance, personal qualities, and military tactics. These are imperial institutions of martial glory, with roots stretching into millennia of history. And though some of them are shrouded in secrets and curses, each new generation of battle brothers continues the fight, bearing their burden unwaveringly in the name of protecting the Imperium that created them. The Ultramarines are considered by many to be the exemplars of the Codex Astartes. Wherever their warriors in blue armor appear, they embody the ideal of their chapter's motto: courage and honor. No less majestic are the Imperial Fists, the sons of Primarch Rogel Dawn, who were appointed as the Praetorians of Terra itself. They specialize in both conducting and lifting sieges across the galactic map. And if the Imperial Fists have any weakness, it is their stubborn refusal to acknowledge defeat, which has led them and their successors to ill-advised assaults and failed battles many times. The White Scars are hunters from the plains of Chogoris, masters of tracking and isolating their prey before delivering a lightning strike. Outside observers consider these warriors to be wild barbarians, known for hunting their enemies as prey and destroying them without mercy. From the volcanic world of Nocturne come the Salamanders, skilled warrior artisans who believe that overcoming hardships is an essential tempering in the forge of war. From the unforgiving planet, Medusa hail the Iron Hands, the sons of the deceased Ferrus Manus, who claim that living flesh is a weakness. These warriors perfect themselves through bionic implants of steel and iron, preaching that cold and ruthless logic is the most formidable weapon of the Imperium. From the moon of deliverance, the strike forces of the Raven Guard, genetic sons of the enigmatic Corvus Corax emerge. These warriors utilize stealth, cunning, and guerrilla tactics to annihilate their enemies, compensating for their low numbers and somewhat unstable gene seed with deadly precision. The Dark Angels, Space Wolves, and Blood Angels are also chapters of the first founding, from which many Space Marine successors originate. All of them are champions of humanity, and all wage war in the name of the Emperor. But in the Imperium, war is not only steel and brute force. It is also faith in the Emperor. The Adepta Sororitas are the warriors of faith, armed with bolters, flamers, wailing chainswords, and zealous devotion. They cleanse the battlefield of enemies in the name of the Emperor and the Imperial Creed. The Sisters of Battle excel in close combat, but also mow down foes with endless salvos of suppressive fire, and their loud hymns echo over the battlefield, drowning out the cries of the dying. There is no more devout and equally resolute congregation of mortal believers as the Adepta Sororitas. They pledge their loyalty to the Emperor from a very young age. dedicating their lives to the highest arts of battle, and are wholly indoctrinated into the Imperial creed. Their fervour makes them determined and fierce soldiers, safeguarded from weakness, fear, and poor discipline by their absolute faith. There are no hardships or horrors that the Sisters of Battle would not willingly endure in the name of the God Emperor. All of them, to the last, would gladly lay down their lives for the fulfillment of their sacred mission. The Adepta Sororitas are among the most devoted and skilled militant orders within the Emperor's dominions. Their combat prowess is further enhanced by the Sisters of Battle's access to a rich arsenal of powerful weaponry and specialized combat training. They are the sole Imperial military organization outside the Adeptus Astartes that extensively utilizes power armor, making their warriors incredibly resilient and capable of waging war in a wide variety of hostile environments. They wield the sacred trinity of bolters, melter weapons and flamers, making them lethal adversaries in battles at both medium and long range. The Sisters of Battle have access to fleets of assault vehicles and armoured personnel carriers, which are based on various versions of the reliable and proven Rhino, ranging from the flamethrower-equipped Immolator to the truly terrifying Exorcist artillery tank. Specialized squads, such as Retributors, Dominions and Seraphim, employ special weapons to tear their enemies apart, or are able to ascend on angelic wings that adorn their jump packs. The Ecclesiarchy also provides the Adepta Sororitas with hordes of fanatical auxiliary forces to support their strength in battle. Arco-flagellants who lash out with their crackling whips in deadly madness, penitent engines that feed on agony and move through the enemy with roaring swords instead of hands. Sinister death cult assassins who venerate the Emperor through the act of enemy killing, and stalwart crusaders who raise their towering shields and advance step by step towards the foe. Brave commanders and powerful champions lead them into the fray. They range from fiery preachers and selfless hospitaller sisters to such strange and wondrous formations and embodiments as the Triumph of St. Catherine, or the living saint, bathed in bright light, who has died and been resurrected countless times throughout the history of the Imperium. The appearance of these latter figures speaks to the most astonishing aspect of the Adepta Sororitas as a military force. As they advance across the battlefield and their prayers ascend ever higher, friends and foes alike seem to perceive that the Emperor, in his benevolence, answers them personally. Enemy direct hits can miraculously ricochet, although they should have initially shattered the squad into splinters, or a projectile may deviate from its original trajectory sideways, even though the shot was fired with direct aim. Meanwhile, the fire of the Adepta Sororitas strikes weak spots in their opponent's armor against all odds, while unenhanced blades slice through inch-thick armor with supernatural ease. Foes and heretics may spontaneously ignite, while squads of battle sisters can pass through barrages of fire without even a scratch. Even their wounded may recover from seemingly mortal injuries to fight on, although, by all laws of logic, they should have long been dead. For the Adepta Sororitas themselves, such occurrences are mere proof of their faith and the Emperor's divine power. For them, such a turn of events is entirely natural when the will of the Master of Mankind manifests itself in this way. The strength of their faith is such that any other reality for the Battle Sisters is entirely unthinkable. Their allies cannot put into words the feelings these phenomena evoke, while their enemies have often dropped their weapons and fled in terror before the Sisters of Battle and the unyielding will of their Emperor. But even if the enemy chooses to fight, they will not survive. Even on solo missions, the Adepta Sororitas possesses numerical superiority, firepower and relentless fury capable of crashing upon the foe and obliterating them in a lightning-fast assault. The Sisters of Battle typically favor large-scale combat deployments. An entire command descends onto the surface of hostile worlds aboard enormous vessels of the Ecliarchy. Upon contact with the planetary surface, these massive structures bathe the surroundings with gargantuan macro-flamers, followed by torrents of high-pressure holy water. Deafening psalms burst from loudspeakers, while enemy lands simultaneously burn and drown. As the flames rise and raging torrents of holy water fill the streets, squads of Adepta Sororitas disembark from their ships to commence the true purification of this world. Such an onslaught drives the enemy away like a frightened beast fleeing from a wildfire. When tens of invasion cathedrals approach on wings of flame to scour the planet's surface, the conquering and enlightening armies of the Sisters of Battle make the ground tremble with their steps and the roar of cannons. Against such an accumulation of military might and unwavering zeal, heretics cannot even conceive of the chances of survival. Each of the orders of Adepta Sororitas has perfected its unique methods of warfare. The Order of the Holy Martyr esteems their own lives little and will fight to the last, regardless of survival odds and attendant dangers, until nothing remains before them but ruins. The Order of the Valorous Heart values endurance and resilience, and its adepts can ignore even the most grievous wounds. Their supernatural ability to survive has allowed the valiant heart to endure through many battles with a purity illuminated by suffering. The Order of the Bloody Rose channels its martial fervour into furious aggression, launching attacks straight into the heart of the enemy's battle line. Meanwhile, the Order of the Argent Shroud unleashes a devastating hail of fire upon the foe, under which no one can hope to survive. Many other orders are scattered across the Emperor's domains, each representing a deadly engine for holy war against the myriad foes of the Imperium. Holy Terror is the heart of the Imperium, whose light illuminates the galaxy, and the darkness of enemies seeks to extinguish it. But those who dare approach too close will encounter an insurmountable barrier. The Adeptus Custodes are the first and greatest super-soldiers created by the Emperor. Each of them is a warrior of exceptional strength and superhuman resilience, a strategist and a tactician capable of rivaling the greatest generals. They are immortal legends who will stop at nothing to protect the Emperor and his world. In a galaxy inhabited by countless mortal souls, the Adeptus Custodes are truly few. Their legion never exceeds 10,000 warriors, and often their numbers are significantly lower. Nevertheless, one custodian can easily be equated to an entire regiment of soldiers. The secrets of the genetic alchemy underlying the creation of the Adeptus Custodes are among the most carefully guarded in the Imperium. Every cell in a custodian's body sings with incredible vitality and power, endowing them with the speed, resilience, strength, intelligence, and virtual immortality of a war god. Clad in golden armor and assembled into mighty shield hosts, there is no task the Adeptus Custodes cannot accomplish, nor is there an enemy they cannot vanquish. During the Great Crusade and the ensuing Horus heresy, these warriors were known as the Legio Custodes, and their sacred duty was to serve as companions to the Emperor and protect him at all costs. It was for this purpose that they were created. But when Horus dealt a mortal blow to the Emperor, the Legio Custodes failed in their duty. After the heresy, the Emperor's guards became the Adeptus Custodes, and for many thousands of years they watched over the imperial palace clad in mournful black. The Adeptus Custodes still serve as the guardians of the Emperor's palace, but as the passing years have dulled the sharpness of their great failure, they have realized that the most effective way to protect Terra is through active participation in the ongoing battle against humanity's countless enemies. To this end, many of the shield hosts now venture into the expanse of the Imperium. Guided by psychic foresight and numerous intelligence reports gathered by mysterious agents known as the Eyes of the Emperor, the Adeptus Custodes deploy unexpectedly. Their civic duty lies in overthrowing demagogues and warlords who might otherwise incite rebellion against Holy Terror. They also seek out and seal ancient and enigmatic artifacts whose very existence poses a threat to the throne, and return them to Terra to be locked deep within the black chambers beneath the palace. They safeguard the Imperium's future champions until they are strong enough to unlock their potential. They make terrifying examples of those who threaten the sanctity of the throne world and eradicate hidden dangers that pose such a grim threat that even the Inquisition cannot resolve them. Thus, the Adeptus Custodes serve as the supreme executors of the Emperor's will and his most diligent and effective protectors. In battle, the shield companies are utterly indomitable. Squads of warriors crush enemy ranks, while large-caliber bolters, spears, axes and swords rend their foes to pieces, their golden shields deflecting shots and blades as the custodians continue the fight. Each warrior carves his own path through enemy lines, adding new names to his ever-growing honor roll engraved on the inner plates of his armor. The shield companies employ military technology from the Imperium's golden age, including ancient Land Raider tanks, Contemptor dreadnoughts, and Dawn Eagle jet bikes, leaving bloody trails in enemy battle lines. Clad in magnificent Terminator armor, they teleport directly into the heart of battle, like lions on the hunt. Wherever the Adeptus Custodes strike, enemies perish with terrifying ease, and the foe's attempts to bring them down end in constant failure. Such is the fate of those who rise against the absolute power of the Golden Throne. A swift and bloody death awaits them at the hands of merciless titans, a warning to all others tempted to repeat the same fatal error. The Adeptus Custodes sometimes fight alongside the Sisters of Silence in allied formations known as the Talons of the Emperor. The Sisters of Silence are soulless, making them ideal hunters of psychers, as they are virtually immune to any psychic powers, from roaring witchfire to insidious mind control. The Sisters of Silence negate the sorcerous powers of enemies before dispatching them with bolter or blade. We shall now speak of those who command ancient machines and forge weapons worthy of gods. The Adeptus Mechanicus wield strange and enigmatic weaponry of phenomenal power. They are aggressive and merciless, valuing knowledge above all and sparing no hesitation to spill oceans of blood, both enemy and their own, in their endless crusade for the acquisition of technological remnants. Such is the will of the Omnissiah, and his priests will stop at nothing to fulfill it. The army of the Adeptus Mechanicus on the battlefield resembles a bizarre and grotesque religious procession. Marching ranks of servitors, accompanied by flocks of cyber cherubim that bear censers filled with sacred oils and petrochemical incense. Rank upon rank of Skitarii cyborgs tirelessly march towards enemy fire or charge into battle on Scorpius dune crawlers, raising binary hymns in praise of the Omnissiah, while their carbines and galvanic rifles crackle with overwhelming power. Engulfed in lightning, the electro-priests cry out in ecstasy, energized by the driving force, hurling themselves into battle and striking with their luminous weapons, drawing bioelectricity from their victims and wielding it at their discretion, often with devastating outcomes. Elite assassin cyborgs lurk in the shadows, their transonic blades and mechanical claws capable of rending enemy armor, while internal augmentic systems continuously bombard the victim with terrifying neural static interference. This transforms even the most formidable opponents into helpless and useless combatants, scarcely presenting a threat. Behind these masses of augmented soldiers follow maniples of battle robots, ancient war constructs of cybernetics driven forward by thunderous differential engines. These walking relics elicit wild exultation from the followers of the Omnissiah, embodying all that is sacred to the Martian priesthood. In the hearts of foes, these mechanisms inspire only dread as they engage in battle, unleashing their full combat potential, then reducing the few survivors to bloody pulp with their massive fists. Insect-like walker tanks emerge in the crucible of war, unleashing all-consuming beams of energy and hissing clouds of micro-missiles as they advance. Long-legged cavalry and war walkers attack the enemy from the flanks with strange amalgams and ancient technological weapons encased in copper. They charge into battle on grotesque servitors, subjected to horrific surgical modifications, serving as steeds for the armoured Skitari. Heavy tracked machines crush the bones of the foe into dust as Cataphron servitors advance to reinforce the main forces. Their ocular lenses scan the enemy, their minds making instantaneous decisions and calculating trajectories, followed by the deployment of destructive energy weapons. All this while the technomancers themselves remain hidden among their followers, commanding this entire army, issuing precise imperatives or smiting adversaries with weapons of colossal power. Even more priests observe every engagement from orbiting macro barges. Their data links allow them to command the faithful to the Omnissiah like marionettes, dancing on digital strings. However, the most terrifying weaponry possessed by the Mechanicus are the colossal war machines, the power of which the devotees of the machine god unleash upon the unfortunate heads of their enemies. The massive knights transform the battlefield into a hellscape, and their noble pilot knights sing hymns to the Omnissiah, even as they launch volleys of devastating fire at their foes. Even more formidable are the Ordinatus machines, which can reach the size of an entire residential block. And the greatest treasure of the Adeptus Mechanicus are the godlike engines of the Collegia Titanicus. If the tread of these bipedal war engines shakes the planet's crust, and their monstrous shadows fall upon the land, then unquestionably the doom of the enemies of the Omnissiah is near. Although the Adeptus Mechanicus is formally subject to the laws of the Imperium, in practice their armies mobilize only when it serves the interests of the tech priests. These plans are as convoluted as they are incomprehensible to any who do not believe in the Omnissiah. At their core, they are almost always directed towards acquiring something at the cost of everything else. The planets of the Adeptus Mechanicus are known as forge worlds. Mars is the largest and oldest of them all, and each forge is a production supercomplex of unimaginable capabilities. Industry in the Adeptus Mechanicus always demands large quantities of raw materials, and it is not uncommon for the Skitari to embark on expeditions in search of new sources of fuel, ores, and other resources suitable for plundering. Yet even raw materials pale in comparison to the absolute importance of information for the Adeptus Mechanicus. The followers of the Omnissiah believe that all knowledge, whether biological, technological, chemical, or otherwise, is the rightful property of the machine god and his servants. It is not uncommon for forge worlds to launch grandiose interstellar crusades to reclaim lost repositories of scientific knowledge or weapon technologies. They are capable of abandoning the needs of the entire Imperium in pursuit of their goal. Time and again the armies of the Adeptus Mechanicus have clashed with the forces of the Imperium or opposed the armies of other forge worlds in the pursuit of archaeotech. If the Martian clergy were not so essential for the survival of the imperial realm, it might have long ago entered into open war with Terra, with the fate of humanity hanging in the balance. However, the Imperium needs the disciples of the machine god to continue its existence, and the reverse holds true as well. Thus the uneasy alliance endures for now. Throughout millennia, various forge worlds have become particularly renowned for their philosophical ideas or methods of warfare. Often this is colored by the technologies they specialize in producing or the enemies they most frequently encounter. For example, the tech priests of Riza have defended their world against orc invasions for so long that they have become experts in combating these brutish xenos. The devotees of the Forge world Metallica detest all biological life forms and aspire to their ultimate extermination, whereas the Forge world Lucius possesses such advanced technology that it can teleport super-heavy war machines directly into the battle's epicenter. On the battlefield, warriors that shake the earth are sometimes required. When the hour of decisive battle arrives, they awaken to crush the enemies of the Imperium with their magnificence. Let us continue to speak of the destructive power of the Omnissiah, the Knights and the Titans. We shall begin with the Imperial Knights. These majestic war machines have fought for humanity since the time of the Dark Age of technology. Once upon a time, the Knights were the shock fist of the galaxy's expansion, and many Xenos fell under the onslaught of the 10-meter-tall Striders. The pilots of the Knights became legends, and on conquered worlds many followers of these great warriors emerged. With the onset of the Age of Strife, hundreds and thousands of their worlds were left to their own devices, locked within endless warp storms. On those worlds where knights remained, a feudal society gradually took shape. Knight pilots formed knightly houses, and their followers became retainers who fed the pilots and maintained their war machines. The knightly houses quickly rid themselves of psychers and sentient artificial intelligence, thus creating some of the safest worlds in those terrible times. During the era when the Emperor led a great crusade to unify the worlds of humanity, the Knight worlds largely embraced imperial truths and pledged loyalty to the Emperor, once again taking their place at the spearhead of the expansion's power. However, when the arch-traitor corrupted a part of the warriors of the Imperium, some Knight worlds also fell into heresy, yet the majority preserved honor and nobility and bravely opposed the traitor's steel. Today, many Knight worlds fulfill their oath to the Emperor and safeguard the peace of the people of the Imperium. Knights are enormous bipedal Striders, piloted by a single pilot from among the noble lineage. To operate such a machine, the pilot connects through neural interfaces with the Mechanicum throne. These ancient devices bind the pilot with the powerful machine spirit. However, such a connection always carries a risk. If the pilot does not possess an iron will, the machine spirit will rob him of his mind and consume his soul. In turn, this tormented mind will forever merge with the machine spirit, joining his ancestors, tormenting the souls of new candidates. Modern knight houses are divided into two types: those who are loyal to the imperial truth and the Emperor, known as Quaestor Imperialis, and those who follow the path of the Omnissiah and are subordinate to Mars, known as Quaestor Mechanicus. There also exist Freeblade's lone warriors who for some reason have remained without the support of their houses, be it as a result of breaking their oath or the destruction of their worlds. By the way, regarding support, in peace and war, knights are accompanied by sacristans, something between the clergy of the noble house and the tech priests of the Mechanicus. Once, they were acolytes recruited by the Mechanicus to train specialists capable of repairing and maintaining war machines. However, over time, these acolytes gradually gained political power. Currently, the sacristans serve as a counterbalance to the monarchical rule of the leaders of the knightly houses. They blackmail them by threatening that if their opinions are not considered, they will simply cease to service the knights. However, as time has shown, this was for the best, because they prevent world rulers from making hasty or unreasonable decisions, giving birth to truth in debates. On the battlefields, sacristans follow the knights to quickly repair damaged warriors. The history of ancient terror has delivered to us tales of orders of knights in shining armor, alongside whom faithful squires always stood. Similarly, the knightly houses have an entire support formation consisting of combat machines of the squire class. Although their size is 1.5 times smaller than that of a regular knight, they still represent a formidable force, providing cover in battle for their more powerful brethren. Piloting the squires can be people of non-noble origin. These are usually distant relatives of the ruling family, illegitimate children, or particularly distinguished commoners. There are two types of squires: armiger warglaves and helverins. The former charge at the enemy in close combat, slashing them with enormous chainswords and scorching them with thermal spears. The latter are armed with two powerful autocannons, covering the knights with suppressive fire. Both versions are additionally armed with heavy stubbers or melter guns. Now, let us smoothly move on to the varieties of the knights themselves. There are numerous modifications of each type. The primary and most common class of knight is the Quaestoris. This class has many modifications and specializes in various more specific tasks, but in its standard form, it is a fairly balanced combat unit. Usually, one of the hands is equipped with a destructive close combat weapon, while the other is fitted with one of many shooting weapons. A secondary gun of the heavy stubber or flamer type is installed near the left shoulder. An armament platform is attached to the knight's carapace to provide additional fire support. For protection, knights are surrounded by an ion shield, and particularly vulnerable joints are additionally reinforced with adamantine armor. The Dominus class is a heavier type of knight. They have an additional plasma core, which allows for powering more weapons and installing their more destructive variants. Unlike the Quaestoris class, the Dominus can simultaneously fire and cover themselves with ion shields without switching power flows between them. In addition to the guns on their arms, Dominus knights are equipped with additional armaments on their chests, shoulders, and carapace. There are also rarer kinds of knights produced during the times of the Horus heresy. Few of these ancient machines remain, yet they are still in service, their firepower continuing to obliterate the enemies of the Emperor. Foremost among such machines are the Knights of the Cerastus class. They are taller, endowed with increased speed and maneuverability. The more advanced design of their arms allows Cerastus knights to wield close combat weapons with nearly the same agility as an experienced fencer. This class of knights, regardless of modification, employs only close combat weapons and lacks auxiliary armaments. In their standard configuration, the Cerastus is armed with a lance and a hand carried by knight standards, of course, ion shield. The second type of ancient knights is the Acastus Porphyrion. It is the largest, most heavily armoured, and slowest of all knights, in size even approaching the class of Titans. The Acastus Porphyrion is armed with two twin-linked lascannons, capable of incinerating an entire small army in a split second. Additionally, they are equipped with either two autocannons or two lascannons at the head and a missile launcher mounted on their carapace. Imperial knights are formidable warriors in the ranks of the Imperium's forces. They are the Emperor's iron fist, crushing his foes. But should these forces prove insufficient, humanity deploys its most powerful weapon, the Titans. The Titans are iron gods of war, manifestations of the will of the Omnissiah, the greatest weapon available to the Imperium for waging war on planetary surfaces. To put it very simply, Titans are merely a more complex and enlarged version of knights. However, their production and operation are far more complicated. The Collegia Titanica, one of the branches of the Adeptus Mechanicus, oversees matters concerning Titans. The Collegia, in turn, is divided into 4 divisions. The first is the Divisio Militaris. These are the combat legions of Titans, as well as the ground forces and service personnel. Most Forge worlds host at least one Titan legion, and on particularly large worlds there may be several legions. On average, a Titan Legion comprises about 50 combat machines of various classes. The second division of the Collegia Titanica is the Divisio Mandati. They travel across the galaxy within the Temple fleets, bringing enlightenment to worlds not yet joined to the galactic state of humanity. As their chief argument, they wield Emperor-class Titans. Often, they are accompanied by inquisitors and representatives of the Imperium's governmental bodies. The remaining two divisions of the Collegia Titanica are shrouded in an aura of mystery and enigma. The Divisio Investigatus is almost entirely located on Mars and is involved in researching and designing Titans and various improvements to their production. They appear on battlefields only when it is necessary to witness the fruits of their labor in action firsthand. The Divisio Telepathica, on the other hand, works with Psi-Titans on secret forge worlds. Titans are extremely complex machines to operate. While Knights can still be piloted by a single individual, Titans require an entire crew. The most important pilot of a Titan is the Princeps. This is a member of the Mechanicus cult, specially trained for 8 years. Through a special throne with a neuro-interface, he directly connects to the fierce spirit of the machine, subduing it with his will. By connecting to the Titan, the Princeps not only can control the machine's body with the power of thought, but he also perceives it as his own, including the pain from enemy fire. Over time, the Princeps becomes so absorbed in the role of the Iron God that disconnecting from the neuro-interface and returning to the weak human body delivers a serious blow to the pilot's sanity. It is not uncommon for the Princeps to voluntarily agree to eternal implantation into the Titan to instill fear in the enemies of the Emperor for the rest of their lives. In such cases, the body is placed in an amniotic tank with a nutrient fluid. Unnecessary organs and body parts are also removed. This process is similar to how a mortally wounded space marine is placed into the body of a dreadnought. However, despite their colossal willpower, no Princeps can control a Titan alone. He is assisted by a team of Moderati. These are auxiliary pilots who also connect to the Titan but cannot directly control it. They can only instantly receive orders from the Princeps, and only then, for instance, help with precise weapon targeting. The Titan crew also includes sensor operatives, responsible for communication and enemy detection, and helmsmen, who assist in controlling the machine's movement and stability. This is not to mention the multitude of tech priests who monitor the Titan's condition and repair it, even in the heat of battle. Similar to Knights, Titans come in many different classes and modifications. The smallest among them is the Warhound-class Titan. This Titan, approximately 14 meters tall, serves the function of providing fire support for its larger brethren. It also conducts reconnaissance, as much as is applicable to such enormous machines. The Warhound is the only class of Titans not possessing a distinctly humanoid appearance. As armament, turbo lasers, plasma blast guns or flamethrowers are most commonly used. The function of protection is entrusted to 2 void shield generators. A more powerful class with a height of over 20 meters is the Reaver-class Titan, which is used directly for warfare. The first Reaver-class Titans were created during the Age of Strife and still demonstrate incredible effectiveness in open combat. However, despite thick adamantine armor and void shields, the energy reactor of this class is located in a vulnerable spot on the back. This is its weak point if, of course, the enemy can breach the shields and thick armor. In such a case, they can easily disable the Titan. The most common armament of the Reaver-class Titan includes a Gatling laser and a plasma blast gun, as well as a Carapace missile launcher. Currently, Reaver-class Titans are almost not produced, and are being replaced by more powerful types of Titans. Notably, the Warbringer Nemesis-class Titan deserves special mention. Such a Titan is employed for engaging large-scale targets. This is primarily due to the massive quake cannon mounted on its shoulders. With a single projectile, the Warbringer can obliterate another Titan or breach even the most fortified walls. Also installed on its shoulders are anti-aircraft systems, while its arms are equipped with weapons from the Reaver's arsenal. These Titans are quite rare and not often encountered on the battlefields. The most common Titan, however, is the Warlord-class Titan. Standing over 30 meters tall, its weapon arsenal is astounding in might. In addition to the standard weaponry for Imperial walkers in the Titan's arms, the Warlord also possesses shoulder-mounted cannons of no lesser caliber and auxiliary weapons on its hull. Its armaments include gigantic versions of plasma, laser and missile weaponry. All this is protected by powerful void shields. A notable distinction is the modification known as the Warlord Sinister. This is not just a formidable type of Titan, its power is truly terrifying. Instead of the standard control block typical in a Titan, the Warlord Sinister is equipped with the Siri Crux Anima, a special psychic matrix designed by the Emperor himself. Instead of Moderati, Alpha-level psychers are implanted within the Titan, and instead of a conventional Princeps, the machine is piloted by a pariah, a soulless individual. The mere presence of powerful psychers and a pariah, who is deadly to psychic entities, in one place can cause various anomalies and surges of uncontrolled energy. However, with the special matrix, this energy can be directed. Moreover, not only can the abilities of standard psychodisciplines be utilized, but on the scale of a Titan, the Warlord Sinister also emits an aura of unimaginable primal terror. Yet even this is not its primary weapon. Utilizing immensely powerful psi cannons, the energy from the union of the pariah and psychers is channeled as beams of darkness at the target. A brief warp rift opens where it strikes, instantly tearing souls from the living and atom by atom, transferring all matter into the immaterium. Nothing can survive such a horrific assault. Titans of this modification are extremely few and rare, and they are scarcely used in battle. But when they do engage, no enemy can withstand these engines of death. Now we shall move on to the largest Titan in the arsenal of the Collegia Titanica. The Imperator-class Titan, literally a walking fortress, a true god striding among the insignificant insects on the battlefield. Its size is around 60 meters. However, there is information about even more gigantic variants. The Adeptus Mechanicus believes that these Titans are the physical embodiment of the Omnissiah, with gigantic cathedrals constructed in the name of the god Emperor on their shoulders. The weaponry of the Imperator class is the largest available to ground forces. Only the cannons mounted on gigantic space cruisers are larger. As auxiliary weapons, those used as main armaments on, for example, a Warhound-class Titan might be employed. There are also specific variants, such as the Vulcan Mega Bolter. The Imperator-class Titan is the ultimate argument in any battle against any foe. 100 worlds have submitted to the will of humanity at the mere sight of such a war machine. When the enemy beholds an entire squadron of these Titans along with support from smaller classes, the thought of defeat overwhelms their minds. The Imperium is upheld not only by space marines, tech priests, or colossal Titans. On the front line, ordinary humans fight the wars. An army of millions serves as both the shield and sword of the Emperor, fearlessly standing against the immeasurable threats of the galaxy. The Astra Militarum is a bludgeon of galactic proportions, already raised for the strike. These soldiers serve as a living shield for the Emperor's domains and as an unstoppable hammer to crush his enemies. Their method of warfare is simple and straightforward, the application of brute, overwhelming force. Yet these armies have dutifully served the Imperium for 10,000 years. To be a soldier of the Astra Militarum means to be an expendable unit, countless in number. It means casting aside your past life, leaving everything you know, and being doomed to a short, war-filled life on worlds you have never seen. Fighting against enemies from your worst nightmares. It means facing monstrous opponents with only rudimentary training, mass-produced equipment, and the fragile shield of your faith to preserve your life. It means experiencing horror and despair. It means enduring the worst of life and continuing to fight nonetheless. Such is the courage of the Astra Militarum, and it should not be underestimated. In a galaxy filled with horrors, those who stand firm and fight for their species' existence are the true champions. The forces of the Imperial Guard may lack elite super soldiers or super-technological supernatural weaponry, but they possess immense firepower and overwhelming numerical superiority. The armies of the Astra Militarum are characterized by countless infantry regiments, mechanized strike forces, rumbling columns of armored vehicles, battle psychers, companies of abhumans faithfully serving the Imperium, numerous batteries of mobile artillery, as well as sun-shading squadrons of combat aircraft and super-heavy war machines that are comparable in size to mobile fortresses. Wave after wave these forces are deployed. Officers shout orders through roaring vox amplifiers, while their regimental priests scream fiery sermons, inspiring both seasoned veterans and green recruits. When the armies of the Astra Militarum open fire, it resembles an open door to hell. Thousands of lasgun shots fill the air, which boils with fury. Heavy weapons spew streams of shells, anti-tank rocket salvos, and whizzing mines cover the enemy. Plasma blasts and numerous artillery rounds create breaches in enemy ranks, while tank-sized rockets and shells rain down upon the foe. Explosions hurl fountains of rock and shreds of torn bodies into the air. The unremitting and relentless bombardment decimates even the most enduring adversaries. Enemy attacks are thwarted by counter-assaults from armored formations or are suppressed through mundane human defenses. It is a dreadful method of waging war, a faceless slaughter that explains why most Astra Militarum soldiers do not expect to survive more than the first 15 hours on the battlefield. However, over the millennia, Astra Militarum armies have won countless wars for the Imperium. And if humanity has any advantage over all others, it is an almost inexhaustible reserve of recruits for its insatiable war machine. Yet, not all battles fought by the Imperial Guard bear such catastrophic consequences. The history of the Imperium is replete with tales of small groups of soldiers staging heroic last stands, of commando units breaking through enemy lines to assassinate heretical warlords, and of armored columns charging through enemy wastelands to deliver vital messages. Air forces execute pinpoint strikes on enemy command bunkers, or cut through hostile skies to disable bridges or enemy critical generators. Understrength and undersupplied infantry platoons of the Astra Militarum navigate tunnel networks and ruined vestiges in search of Xenos. Virtually every world in the Imperium is obliged to provide a regular tithe of recruits for the Astra Militarum. As soldiers hail from a wide array of worlds, each combat group possesses its own cultures, dialects, clothing styles, and specialized methods of warfare. Some of these regiments have become famous or infamous, their names echoing throughout the Imperium. Fighters of the Catachan Jungle Fighters, for example, are well known for their resilience and expertise in conducting operations on flora and fauna-covered death worlds. Soldiers of the Mordian Iron Guard are renowned for their impeccable firearms training. Armageddon boasts the finest armoured infantry, and the men and women of ruined Cardia are considered the most courageous and resolute warriors in the Astra Militarum. Several elite regiments and organizations support the Astra Militarum armies on the battlefield. Their forces are often recruited from the Schola Progenium. This organization spans the entire Imperium, and its well-fortified scholae take in orphaned sons and daughters of fallen Imperial officers. However, this is far from being an act of altruism, for from that moment they become wards of the Schola Progenium. The youth are subjected to a rigorous training program instilled with imperial faith and taught the art of warfare. Instructors take joy in maiming or even killing their charges to prevent them from tainting the Imperium with their weakness. While female recruits most often join the militant orders of the Adepta Sororitas, the majority of male graduates of the Schola Progenium are directed into the Militarum Tempestus. Highly skilled, meticulously prepared, and fanatically devoted, these so-called storm forces are the finest among the human formations of the Imperium. Their rapid assault raids have led to countless victories. The most brutal and ruthless warriors are called into the commissariat. Clad in black coats and caps, these officers oversee the morale of soldiers, prowling the ranks of the Astra Militarum, searching for any signs of cowardice or weakness. They are unhesitant in demonstrating the fate of those deemed spineless in the eyes of the commissar, and usually this demonstration occurs with the help of the commissar's bolt pistol. Worlds of the Imperium are obligated to recruit, train, and equip a sufficient number of soldiers to fulfill the tithe of the Departmentum Unitorum. If a world fails to meet this requirement, the consequences will be dire. Almost all planetary governors ensure that they meet all the required recruitment standards, regularly sending entire sections of the population on cargo dropships. However, the quality of training, equipment, and soldiers varies greatly. But rarely does a fighter of the Astra Militarum go to war fully prepared and equipped. In some worlds, their technological base barely copes with this task, and not infrequently entire regiments board their shuttles armed with swords and spears or clad in their tribal furs of slain beasts. Other worlds use the tithe as an opportunity to get rid of undesirable elements, directing rebellious prisoners and bandits into the Astra Militarum. And there are worlds with extreme climates or conditions where people, under certain circumstances, can become hardy soldiers, but may be entirely unsuitable under other conditions. But the situation for humanity is exceedingly desperate. There is little time for complaints, and fighters must be content with their soldierly lot, while the Astra Militarum in turn must be content with them. Yet there are enemies that cannot be defeated even by masses of soldiers, those whose existence is barely recognized by mortals. And when the horrors of the warp breach reality, the Grey Knights emerge from the shadows to battle the demons in the name of the Emperor. The Grey Knights are demon hunters. This highly specialized chapter of Space Marines is known only to the chosen few, and their deployment on the battlefield is the last resort against enemy forces. They form the martial arm of the Ordo Malleus, often responding to the warnings of inquisitors and stemming the tide of demonic corruption before it can rise to a destructive wave and consume with Imperial Knights. The Grey Knights were created in secret during the Second Founding, when the legions of the Space Marines were divided into chapters. Stationed on Titan, shielded from detection by immense sorcerous wards, the Grey Knights have their own fortress monastery, whose defences are nearly impregnable, and deep catacombs house labyrinths of the darkest secrets and forbidden knowledge. The primary role of the Grey Knights is to wield this knowledge as a weapon. Only they possess the necessary mental and spiritual resilience to gaze directly into the warp. Only they are strong enough to wield the weapons of the archenemy and turn them against demonic hordes. To this end, each Grey Knight is a powerful psyker who has trained his entire life not only to withstand the dangers of the Immaterium, but also to counter them. The Grey Knights channel their powers into a perpetual shield known as the Aegis. This field repels the denizens of the warp and protects the minds and souls of their battle brothers from their corrupting touch. Moreover, many Grey Knights can unleash their psychic might to rain down scorching flames upon their enemies, summon protective energies around their comrades, or banish demons from existence with mere words or a single strike. They combine these powers with blessed weapons of incredible potency, including nemesis blades and hammers, capable of vanquishing even the most formidable warp entities. Secret devices known as psi-cannons can direct the psychic potential of their bearers and easily pierce tank hulls and the metaphysical warp skin as easily as mortal flesh. Many Grey Knights consider the purifying flame among the foremost weapons in their arsenal. Flamer-type weapons are equipped with modified barrels, nozzles, and containers holding psychoactive promethium, which has become the fiery doom of countless demons. Like their battle brothers, the Grey Knights possess a superb arsenal and fleet pertaining to space marines and host some of the greatest war machines within the Imperium. Battle tanks, dreadnoughts, and heavily armed strike ships bear sigils and runes that protect them from the touch of profane forces. They are manned by veteran warriors, and the martial machine spirits have no equal in combat capabilities. Meanwhile, the warships of the Grey Knights swiftly carry them across the galaxy, equipped with wards and enchanted engines that ensure the Knights strike precisely at the moment when it is vitally necessary and obliterate the threat of chaos. Deep within the halls of resonance on Titan, locked in a chamber said to contain the tomb of Malcador himself, rests a simple wooden box adorned with a golden seal. Inside this chest resides an ancient parchment known as the Final Decree. This artifact is mentioned in none of the Imperium's libraries, for it has been concealed from all but the Supreme Grand Masters of the Grey Knights. Only these individuals know how to open the chest, and they will do so only when every hope for the future of humanity is lost. The Final Decree is the Grey Knights' last resort, a secret so colossal that it could either bring the Imperium to its knees or save it in the darkest hour. The exact nature of the document is unknown, and the only clue to its contents lies within a chest with a golden seal. Rumor has it that this seal is an exact copy of another that can be found only in one place among all the worlds of the Imperium, the Emperor's Golden Throne. Such are the defenders of the Imperium, majestic, ruthless, and unyielding. Each of them embodies a unique facet of humanity's strength. From the knowledge-hungry Adeptus Mechanicus to the unwavering faith of the Sororitas. From the indomitable Titans to the secretive warriors of the Grey Knights. And among them, at the pinnacle shine the Custodes, the living embodiment of the Emperor's loyalty and glory. The Imperium rests upon the shoulders of these warriors. Their battles are eternal, their sacrifices unending, and through them, humanity continues its journey through the darkness of the galaxy. Share your opinion in the comments. Which of these military forces of the Imperium, in your view, represents the greatest value to humanity?